Hello and welcome to the video. Today I'm going to be covering my top 5 exercises to grow your chest muscles. Now, there are 3 things that I need to say before we get started. The first thing is that all of the exercises I've listed today, you can alter the angle of your body to incline, flat or decline. I haven't put incline and decline presses as separate exercises. If you do use an incline version of an exercise, that will slightly prefer the upper pec muscles. If you use a flat version, that will train the overall pec. And if you use a decline version, that will slightly shift the tension onto the lower pec. It's not true that if you do a decline version, your upper pec won't get hit at all. The chest will still contract as one, but if your weakness is your upper pec, you might want to use an incline press to prioritize that. Same with decline and lower pec. The second thing to say is that the chest can be a hard muscle to develop a mind-muscle connection with and actually work when you're doing chest exercises. Often the triceps and the shoulders take over. If you find that happens to you, stick around to the end of the video. I have a bonus sort of 6th exercise for people who struggle to feel their pecs when doing these pec movements. It helped me because pecs, I struggled to feel my pecs when doing exercise. It helped me develop that mind-muscle connection. I used to do this at the beginning of all of my chest workouts to sort of feel the muscle and pre-exhaust the muscle before I do my chest workouts. So if you struggle with that as well, check that out at the end of the video. The final thing to say is that there were 4 things I was looking for when judging each exercise. How much of a stretch the pec got, how much of a contraction the pec got during the exercise, how isolated the pec was, and how heavy I could load the exercise, and hopefully the pec. I prioritized isolation. I find that if you're isolating that muscle, any adaptation that occurs has to occur to that muscle. There's no way that it could happen to other supporting muscles. They've just got stronger. So your bench has gone up, but your chest hasn't actually improved. If you have a more isolated exercise, the pec has to be the thing that improves. So I prefer that. But there are many different views within the fitness industry. People like the stretch, people like the contraction. It sort of goes through phases, like there's sort of fashions of what to recommend. I like isolation. That is just my opinion, as with all of these exercises. Feel free to slate me in the comments and tell me how wrong I am. But without further ado, let's get to it. Coming in at spot number 5 is the wide grip barbell bench press. If you use a wider grip on a bench press and flare your elbows out to the side, you will target more of the pec. Compared with if you used a narrower grip and tucked your elbows, you would hit more of your delts and your triceps. Now, using a wider grip and flaring your elbows can cause, for some people, shoulder pain. If that happens to you, obviously don't do this exercise. Being injured is obviously going to stop your progress and you don't want to experience any pain. The strengths of this exercise is that you can load it heavy compared with some of the other exercises, and because you're using a wide grip, at the bottom of the movement you get quite a good stretch on the pecs, particularly if you're flaring those elbows. Some of the drawbacks to it are it's not isolated. You're still going to hit your triceps and shoulders, so it's not a complete pec isolation. And the biggest weakness is the contraction point. Once you've pressed up the pecs, pull your arms all the way in. That's it, fully contracted. With a wide grip, you're only ever going to here maximal. You're not contracting the pecs fully, but still a great exercise. I'd definitely use this if I was training chest and triceps and shoulders, like a push day, because it hits all 3. Load it heavy, do it at the beginning of your workout, and then maybe do some more isolated exercises later on. Coming in at spot number 4 is dips, or assisted dips if you need that, or weighted dips if you're strong enough to do them. Dips are a fantastic exercise for targeting the lower pecs, and they get the best stretch of all exercises. You can also load them heavy. There is one major weakness with dips, and that is that the triceps are heavily involved. If you do dips with a certain technique, they are actually mainly a tricep exercise. But there are two things that you can do to make them more of a chest exercise. The first thing is to lean forward when doing the dips. When you see people leaning back and extending their arms to lock out in dips, that is shifting the tension onto the triceps. If you don't want to do that, stay leaning forwards and try and think of squeezing your elbows inwards and together. And that is what will make your chest activate to help you get up. And the second thing that you can do is not lock out your arms. Triceps are primarily responsible for locking out on movements. This is relevant to all the exercises today on this list. You don't have to lock out. Not locking out will keep the tension on your chest. That basically means that you're isolating the chest better in the exercise, which is great. It's the thing that I value the most. And the second thing is that it will mean that your chest will get a greater time under tension and more volume, and it'll have to do more work because you're not letting it rest. When you lock out, your chest basically rests while the tension goes onto the tricep. So if you don't lock out and when doing dips lean forward, dips are a fantastic exercise for your chest. So coming in at spot number 3 are flies. All sorts of chest flies, cable flies, machine flies, and free weight flies, so like dumbbell flies. The benefits of these is they all get a fantastic stretch. On cable and machine flies, you get a great contraction. On free weight flies, you don't have that because you're lying on your back. Gravity is pulling the weight down, not out. So you pulling your arms in together, gravity isn't actually pulling your arms out, it's just going down through your arm. So on free weight flies, you don't get as good a contraction, but they still have an amazing stretch. And if you perform the exercise right, it isolates the pecs really well to flies. The weakness of flies is that you can't load them very heavy. Another thing is if you do them wrong and change the angle at your elbows, you're incorporating biceps. When you do flies, it is imperative that you keep your arm at the same angle. It almost doesn't matter what angle it should be. It should almost be straight. It doesn't have to be exactly straight. I wouldn't have it really bent, but whatever angle you set your arms at, leave them at that angle throughout the whole movement and only pivot from your shoulders using your pecs. And another weakness on the cable flies is that you have to lean into them quite a lot. So you're involving other parts of the body. It's distracting from the mind-muscle connection because you're thinking about your abs not like bending back and your balancing and position. If you find that distracting and annoying and obviously not as isolating for the pec because you're using your weight to move the weight, that is a drawback. But overall, flies are a fantastic exercise for the pecs, and I would incorporate them with heavier exercises. Their main weakness is that you can't load them heavy. Simply do them with a wide grip press or with dips or some of the other exercises on this list and hit both. And coming in at spot number 2 is the amazing dumbbell press. I love this exercise and it is very accessible. The exercise that sits at spot number 1 is somewhat of a rare piece of equipment. If your gym doesn't have that, this dumbbell press obviously becomes the number 1 exercise. It was a close toss-up anyway, and the dumbbell press actually has many strengths over the number 1 exercise. You can load the dumbbell press heavy, fantastic. You have a great stretch at the bottom of the movement on the pec, another big tick. At the top of the movement, the contraction isn't the best because gravity is your resistance and it's going down through your arm rather than pulling out against the pec. The way to overcome this, like I said in dips, is not to lock out. Don't go all the way to lock out. Leave the arms slightly unlocked and simply keep the tension on the chest. Another great benefit is that because the dumbbells are free, you can move them to wherever is most comfortable and effective for you. Unlike in a machine or a barbell press, where you either have to do the line of the machine or your hands are at a fixed width apart on a barbell, with dumbbells you can move them to where is most effective for you. And obviously, you are going to be training each side evenly. In a barbell, you can shift the weight a bit more to one side, or if you take a grip that's slightly wider on one side and shift the weight across, your other side will be doing more work. This is a way to guarantee that both sides will be training the same because each side has the same weight of dumbbell, unless you're an idiot and you picked up like different weighted dumbbells. One thing that is absolutely imperative when you're trying to use the dumbbell press to grow your pecs is to keep your forearms vertical. This is one of the biggest errors I see from people using the dumbbell press to try and grow their pecs is they grab the dumbbells, they lower them straight down and straight back up, the same as a barbell press. One of the issues with that is when you come down, your tricep gets involved. Its job is to extend your elbow. When your tricep contracts, it extends the elbow, and that's used to extend your elbows as you press up. If you want to eliminate this, keep your forearms vertical and think of arcing your elbows out to the side, similar to like in a fly. Think of arcing your elbows out to the side and pulling your elbows back together and maybe not locking out to avoid the triceps getting involved there. Arc the elbows out, pull them together and think of the chest. And it will keep the tension on the chest. It will stop the triceps from getting involved. You will be weaker when doing this version, but it will keep the tension and isolation on the chest. If you're training for strength, you will be stronger, lowering the dumbbell straight down and straight up because you're involving the tricep as well. You've now got two muscles working on it. But if you want maximum mass and to target the pec, put the most amount of volume and tension on the pec and grow that to the most, and to guarantee that that's what fatigues first, there's nothing worse than doing a dumbbell press and your triceps like not being able to lock it out when you're trying to train your chest. Your chest feels fine at the end and your triceps are burning. What's the point of that? If we're trying to train the chest, keep the tension on the chest, keep your forearms vertical. And as a bonus, one thing that I like to do, because you're at the bench and dumbbell rack anyway, is combine dumbbell press with flies. Just take a lighter pair of dumbbells for the flies because you can only load that lighter. Do your heavy dumbbell presses first, drop the weights, pick up the flies and go straight into your flies. And then if you're really keen on maximizing progress for the dumbbells and eking everything out of your chest, you can then start dumbbell pressing with the weight of the flies when you can't do any more flies. Overall, you will have a long time in detention, a lot of volume on the chest, a lot of intensity because you've done like a drop set, superset. Yeah, it will be, you will grow your chest massively. If you're a beginner, don't concern yourself with that. Just stick to simple programming and simple progressive overload. If you do that, you'll probably annihilate your pec, take way too long to recover from it, and actually inhibit your progress. And finally, coming in spot number 1 is a converging chest press. Regular chest presses are great as well, which just press straight out, but I'm specifically on about a converging chest press. These are the absolute goats of chest exercises. The first thing is that you can load them very heavy. So tick the box for load. The second thing is at the bottom of the movement, they provide a great stretch. That box ticked. At the top of the movement, because of the line of resistance coming inwards and you're converging, the key element of converging is that at the top you get an amazing contraction as well. And then isolation, you almost only feel the chest. Even though it's a press, I never feel my triceps on this. Your chest will be doing all of the work. It hits all 4 of my criteria for the best exercise. Without a doubt, my favorite exercise to train. Now, the actual number 1 exercise, I will say this. This is a note for all of the videos that I do. I'm going to be going through my top 5 exercises for all different types of muscles. The best exercise is a mixture of exercises. The best exercise is to rotate exercises. Rotating exercises overcomes two things. Something called the law of accommodation, which is if you do the same thing over and over and over, you actually start to detrain and get worse at it after a while. So switching the exercise up and providing a new stimulus is what causes improvement. That's what Arnold meant, by the way, by shock the muscle. He didn't mean set up for pull-ups and then randomly deadlift. You are shocking the muscle into adapting. If it's doing the same work on the same exercise every week, it's not going to adapt. And the second thing from rotating exercises is that it will prevent overuse injuries. If you're bench pressing, one of the main reasons people get like shoulder injuries from pressing is because they bench press like every workout, like twice a week for like 30 years. And then there's all these old men who are like, oh, my shoulders, I can't press anymore. It's like, yep, because you only did bench press. Like, and a variation could be just set it incline one week, do dumbbells a different week, do chest press a different week, like rotate all of them. So even the amazing goated chest press, which I love so much, even I would rotate that out to stop overuse injuries. And particularly if I plateaued at it, change the stimulus up and it will help you to keep improving. Now, of course, there is the sixth bonus exercise, which is for people who struggle to activate their pec. This is like, I don't think it has an official name. It's something I did, and it's like a cross the body dumbbell swing. I'll pop up a video on screen of me doing it. Your job is simply to try and contract your pec when the dumbbell swings across your body as hard as you can. There is not a lot of resistance on the pec. This is not going to grow your pec. For people who can feel their pec, this is not putting a lot of tension in your pec. What it is teaching you to do is contract your pec. And in the contraction, that is the easiest way to build a mind muscle up for the pec. Contract across as hard as you can. Excuse me. Contract across as hard as you can. Think just about that muscle. Unlike the other exercises, the way that you normally target your pec is to retract your shoulders and to keep the tension on the pec when doing that. With this exercise, it doesn't matter if your shoulder's like retracted or you just let it hang down. You just think about squeezing across into that chest as hard as possible. And trust me, if there's anything there, which there will be, your chest muscle will fire a bit. You can do this with like no weight at all, but I find holding a weight and trying to push that across, the tiny bit of resistance that adds extra, does help you to feel the chest. And hopefully that will help someone out there, because that absolutely helped me. Every time I pecked, I used to round my shoulders forward when benching, which wasn't good, but even when I did perfect form, my anterior delt, the front delt, that's all that hurt. Like the next day I'd wake up with DOMs here and DOMs in the tricep, and they'd be getting bigger and my chest just wasn't changing. And it was really frustrating, and I knew it felt wrong while I was doing the exercise. They were the things that were fatiguing first. Even if I retracted, like I still only felt the delts and the triceps. I was overtraining as well. I was trying to train the chest like 5 days a week because I was like, God damn it, I'm definitely going to try and feel it this time, and it would fail. So this exercise changed my chest training career, but hopefully it'll do the same for you. That's all for today. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope these exercises helped you. Maybe there's one that you didn't think. Maybe it's just the form correction, like on the dumbbell press, that's changed the way that you do it. Maybe you tried the dumbbell press previously, haven't had much success with it. Try it, this new method, lighten the load and arc the elbows, and you go, wow, it actually is a great exercise. If you have enjoyed it, like, comment, subscribe, all of that good stuff, and have a great day.